I have a confession to make. I love Sonic games. Yeah, I'm one of those people. My first experience with the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise was Sonic Classic Collection for the Nintendo DS in 2010. I have such fond memories of not being able to get past Marble Zone, not being able to get past Angel Island Zone, not being able to get past Mushroom Hill Zone, but none of Sonic 2 at all. Huh. Yeah, I guess I just kinda sucked at Sonic, but over the years I just kept playing more of these games. Thanks to the fan-made mobile ports of the 2010s, I was able to play the first 2 in a CD games again as a pre-teen, and my love for this anxiety-avoidant partner of a franchise was truly forged. Unfortunately, it's hard to pinpoint the best parts of this series. I have intense nostalgia for Sonic Adventure, but groan every time I see Amy's stages. I adore Sonic Mania, but Sonic Superstars makes me want to kill myself. So, in order to remember what I loved about Sonic in the first place, I have decided to go back and look at all of the Sonic games I grew up with. Or a select few, at least. Some of the first video games I ever played, and some of the games that first inspired me to begin writing about my feelings towards video games. That's right, Sonic, it's your fault I'm unemployed, not mine. And where better to start than the original Sonic the Hedgehog? You've heard it all before. Nintendo had a monopoly over the video game market with Mario in the 80s, and Sega wanted a piece of that gaming pie. Not long after the release of Super Mario Bros. 3, Sega held an in-house contest for a new mascot. For Alex Kidd, wasn't doing so great. As we all know, Sonic won this contest, and some of the other character designs were recycled for characters like Dr. Robotnik and Mighty the Armadillo. And so, Sonic was released to the world on June 23rd, 1991, leading to more than 3 decades of invariable disappointment. Revisiting the classics, I have studied every level to try and figure out what makes them so dang fun. What did I figure out? That I love Sonic games. Just not the first? Sonic the Hedgehog is hard to describe. Is it a platformer? Kinda, but you'd be hard-pressed to find another platformer that reaches Sonic's speed, at least in the 1990s. It's certainly not a racing game, it's just Sonic. Surprisingly, it controls really well. Over the years, Sonic's moveset would be refined with new abilities like the spin dash and the drop dash, yada yada, but this is bare as bones, and it's surprisingly good. You run fast, you curl into a ball and smash things, it's a good time. The game opens on Green Hill. This seemingly standard grass level maybe isn't quite as standard as one you'd find in, say, Super Mario. The entire level is covered in checkerboards. There are enemies, but they are robotic, lifeless versions of forest critters that shoot lasers, and breaking them open frees the critter inside. Oh, and the music. Hardly a soothing lullaby. The music is fast-paced, with a tempo not dissimilar to that of racing games at the time. Very quick and upbeat. In fact, while I do have some serious criticism to direct at later levels in this game, the soundtrack department really never lets you down. Every track is great. In today's landscape, Green Hill Zone is painfully overused. It's been in pretty much every Sonic game over the past 15 years. People are starting to get really sick of Green Hill, but it's important to view Green Hill Zone in a light that ignores the foresight of its later overuse. Ignoring that allows us to review this zone in a more positive manner, because, let's be honest here, Green Hill Zone is peak Sonic 1. Perhaps a peak that the game would get very close to reaching again, but I don't think it ever quite does. I do think that's a testament to how good of a first opening level Green Hill is. Green Hill is an amazing zone to run through, and that comes down to 2 things: physics and level design. Sonic has physics, this is obvious. It's also obvious that momentum is an incredibly important part of Sonic's control. Everyone has said this. There's little reason for me to say it again. Honestly, I think Sonic owes much of his success to Green Hill Zone. People are sick of seeing it nowadays, but it's practically the perfect introduction. Quick, colourful, balanced, and memorable. If the first level of this game had been anything else or hadn't been so damn fun, Sonic maybe wouldn't have become the cultural icon he is today. Green Hill Zone is, to me, one of the most fun levels to replay in any video game ever, up there with Bob-omb Battlefield, World 1-1, and Chemical Plant Zone from the next game. Green Hill Zone is the perfect start to Sonic the Hedgehog. So, it's all gotta be uphill from here, right? Well, no. According to the former head of Sonic Team, Yuji Naka, the second zone in Sonic 1, Marble Zone, was intended to give players a chance to breathe between the speedy stages. I understand the sentiment to give players downtime between high action stages, but that is exactly where Marble Zone fails. Marble Zone is slow, correct. However, this does not make it relaxing. Far from it. Green Hill Zone was also designed with chances to breathe in mind. There are still slow, platforming-oriented areas in Green Hill between the loops and the springs. The problem with Marble Zone is that the slowdown is forced for the entire level. There aren't the two distinct paths, and there isn't speed. No loops, no springs, just blocks. There are significant periods of time taken up by waiting periods, so just nothing. There are these spike platforms that rise and fall, but you will never arrive on time. You have to wait for them to rise, wait for them to fall. There is no way to get past it quickly. You have to wait. Even the secrets that are here are either behind walls that one wouldn't normally think to check, or well, that's it. I've only ever found 2 secrets in Marble Zone. The secret routes last 2 seconds and only contain an extra life for a few rings. No alternate pathway. The quickest way to get through Marble Zone is to purposefully take damage. Quickly collect a ring to use as a shield, take damage, repeat, all the way through the lava. If players have to take damage to go fast in a Sonic level, it is not a good Sonic level. Granted, first-time players are highly unlikely to take such a risk, but someone who has played before and doesn't want to wait is likely to do this. Or they'll just be bored. Of course, those that want to get to the special stages before the next zone also wouldn't do this, so they just have to be bored. But this just brings about the question, why isn't there a separate path? A faster route for more experienced players? There are tiny parts of Marble Zone taking place outside that are speedy. Why couldn't there have been a separate path that is like this for the entire level, instead of taking up maybe 15% of each act? It just doesn't make any sense. Oh boy, I sure am glad that this is the only bad stage in Sonic 1, right? There is, however, a light at the end of this tunnel. Spring Yard Zone is everything the outside parts of Marble Zone dreamed of being. This zone is filled with bumpers, springs, and a new set piece, half pipes. Yeah, like the ones people skate on. There are several areas that are filled with half pipes and bumpers, and they are a blast to play with. This zone is probably the closest the game ever gets to feeling like Green Hill again. There are numerous ways to run through the level, plenty of secrets hidden about, and now you get to outrun the slow blocks. It's very satisfying to roll through the half pipes and shoot upwards. There are still small waiting sections involving rising and lowering blocks, but even these are avoidable if the player is careful. There is this rolling badnik that suddenly appears after Sonic goes down a long slope, but luckily the stage provides a spring ready to spin Sonic into the badnik, destroying it. Unfortunately, if Sonic isn't spinning, the bot will almost instantly hit him, either taking away the player's life or their chance to grab a Chaos Emerald. I always found that to be absolute bullshit. While I still love Spring Yard Zone, the issue here is that it takes elements from both Green Hill and Marble Zone, which on paper is fine, it makes sense as an evolution of the game, but I don't think it balances them particularly well, which brings the whole zone down overall. Maybe the next stage is better. Oh boy, it's this one. Where do I even begin with this zone? Have you ever talked to anybody who actually likes Labyrinth Zone? I sure haven't. This level is what you get if you take Marble Zone, remove the smaller fast sections, and put it entirely underwater, making it that much slower. Not only that, but being zone number 4 in a game with 6 zones, they had to ramp up the difficulty here. Sonic can't swim, is incredibly slow, and will drown if you don't find a water bubble within 30 seconds. This means that you have to slowly trudge through the water, dodge way too many obstacles and traps, and spend the entire stage frantically searching for the next bubble. The most amount of time Sonic will spend out of the water is about half a minute. This stage is also like Marble Zone, in that the extra paths are gone, and the entire stage is linear. No secrets, no exploration, more waiting. Yay. It doesn't help that many of the traps here are spikes, which completely ignore Sonic's invincibility frames in the original Genesis release. If you're hit and fall onto the spikes, you die. I know it's a meme that people always dunk on Labyrinth Zone, and I know that I'm just parroting the same opinion that anyone who has ever played this game has had, and that's because it's true. Like, yeah, it's deserved. This is a bad level. Starlight Zone is probably the most forgettable zone in the game. This zone is similar to Spring Yard, but it's what we in the field like to call worse. There are plenty of bottomless pits and obnoxious invincible bombs thrown in that make most players entirely disregard this zone. It doesn't even come close to the quality of Green Hill or even Spring Yard. And look, I'd be lying if I said I don't have a weird soft spot for Starlight Zone. I love the nighttime cityscape, the music is great, and in fairness, it is the 3rd most fun stage in the game. But is that really saying much when the others are Marble, Labyrinth, and Scrap Brain Zone? Firstly, what is that name? What does Scrap Brain even mean? I never understood this name, I don't like it, it's dumb, it's stupid, but maybe it is fitting because this zone is both dumb and stupid. Scrap Brain is a step up from Labyrinth, at the very least. No water, no dumb spikes, but lots of other strange choices. More bottomless pits, disappearing platforms. Don't get me wrong, there is a hearty dose of absolute bullshit thrown into this level. Because it's the very last zone, it has to be hard. Unfortunately, that is not executed well here, not at all. There is so much wrong here. On top of that, Act 3 is just Labyrinth Zone again. And of course, because it's the final act in the game, it is obnoxiously difficult. Extremely long water sections, bubbles that take longer to appear than in Labyrinth Zone, and more super slow water physics. Yay! The one saving grace of Act 3 of Scrap Brain Zone is that at the very beginning of the zone, you can skip a huge portion of the level by just running to the left and getting onto this moving platform. If you lose all of your lives in this zone and have no continues, it's not like you go back to the start of the zone. No, this is a 90s game. You have to replay the entire video game. And it wouldn't feel so bad if it didn't feel like half of this game is just trial and error. The game ends with Final Zone, which is fine. Well, even with no rings, this boss is pretty piss easy, but honestly after the painful experience that was Scrap Brain Act 3, I think I can allow that. That might as well have been the boss in of itself. 50 rings in Act 1 or 2 of most zones unlocks special stages. In the special stages, the player can find Chaos Emeralds, and collecting 50 rings inside the special stage gets them a continue, basically a free respawn after a game over. I'll be honest here. The special stages in Sonic 1 are not great. In fact, I'd even call them kinda bad. The special stages spin at all times. There are bumpers to bounce Sonic around, special bumpers that rotate the stage in the opposite direction, or even speed up the spinning. If you're playing this game with motion sickness, God help you. Even better is that there are many chances to be kicked out of the stage by goal bumpers. One of the later stages literally has bumpers placed so that if the player doesn't move within the first split second of entering the stage, they will immediately be bumped into the goal, kicking them out of the stage. Considering the player is only given 10 chances to get 6 emeralds and any continues they desire, this just seems heavily flawed. Besides, good luck keeping 50 rings in any stage that isn't Green Hill or Spring Yard. You can try to not take damage throughout, say, Marble or Labyrinth, but you'll certainly have a hard time, especially as you get later into the game. And after all that, there's really no reason to do all this anyway, as the only change if you collect all of the emeralds is a slightly different ending cutscene. Wow. Way to make me feel like a wasted piece of shit, Sega. Sonic 1 is the Sonic game of all time. I'll be honest, whenever I play Sonic 1, I almost always stop playing after Green Hill, or if I'm feeling nice enough to get through Marble Zone, I may make it to Spring Yard. The game has many issues, some of them unavoidable. Poor frame rate in parts, no saves, and the 4.3 aspect ratio hiding enemies until it's just too late. Sonic 1 certainly isn't perfect, not even close. In fact, I find this game incredibly frustrating overall. In almost every stage, there are always these little problems that build up and ruin the overall experience. There's a lot of potential in this game, and it does a great job at setting up the foundation for future games to build off of. But because of that, I really have no desire to ever go back and play this one. Sorry, Sonic 1 stans. Sonic 1 is a decent game to pop in every now and then, but it's nowhere near as fun or well designed as the later Genesis entries. If you want a starting point, just go with Sonic 2. Sonic 1 has just too many frustrating, boring, or just outright unenjoyable sections compared to what followed. And this game is short too. If you don't die, the average playthrough will take only about 45 minutes. And that's even with collecting all of the Chaos Emeralds. I'll always have a place of fondness for Sonic 1 in my heart, but at the end of the day, this game not being full of all-star levels and ideas doesn't matter all that much, because despite all of the absolute bullshit thrown into the game, Sega was able to utilize Sonic in their marketing war against Nintendo, and for a time, come out on top. This game has a few confusing design choices, more than a few actually, and a few confusing port choices, but Sonic Team would go on to fully refine Sonic into the Mega Drive megastar he is today in the following games to come. Thanks to Sonic 1, they were able to build off of what they started to create some of the greatest 2D platformers of the early 90s, and also Sonic 3D Blast.